Hey there. Do you want to become a dualpreneur? Do you want to become an entrepreneur? Do you just want to start a business, but don't quite know what to do, where to go, or how to do it? I got you. My next guest is going to give us some startup strategies to help that startup move a whole lot smoother. Hello, Dr. Robert Watkins.
Yes, hello there.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's about time. We've kind of known each other for a few years. We met each other once in person
Yes.
and remained social media friends through the pandemic over a couple years. And we finally get to actually have a conversation for real, for real.
Yes.
Because,
And I love these conversations because we're helping people. And that
yes,
I know that's what's in your heart, and that's what God's called me to do. So this is going to be great.
yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing out in the universe. I love what you're doing for people, especially for people that want to become entrepreneurs or dualpreneurs and helping them with their startups, because that is the most intimidating part of
Yeah.
being starting a business is the start up. What do we do? How do we do it? Where do we go? Who do we connect with? And you are that man. And I appreciate you for being that. But before we go any further, let the world know how amazing and awesome you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, for the last 25 years, I've been doing just this, consulting with people, mostly startups, that people who just have a dream. But we know a dream without resources is a nightmare, and a dream by itself can't pay any bills. And as I used to teach business at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and also speaking in probably about 100 churches every year, what I discovered is people have more dream than they have resources, and they feel stuck. They feel like they're not progressing, even if they have a good career. If they're not doing something that's in their heart, they're always looking for something better. And but that transition is always difficult. And so we built a whole company on people who are in transition. We've helping them get out of transitions. People who have dreams of owning hotels and bed and breakfasts and restaurants and tech companies and starting churches and starting ministries. We've helped them all from a consulting standpoint to financing them, to providing strategies, to business planning, to getting them over the hump of being liquid millionaires and serving on their boards, being their advisor, and then, like I said, growing their business. Our tagline at Conquer Worldwide is we grow small business, we make small businesses big businesses, and we've done that very successfully for the last 20 years. We facilitate lines of credit and for our clients, and so we've been there, holding their hand, praying with them, but giving them strategy. And we've got some great testimonies of people who once were broke, but now they're the largest tither in their church. They are big time givers in their communities. They own ice cream shops. They've been able to employ people, and they're building wealth for their families. And that's very rewarding for us.
And that's super amazing, especially the ice cream shop, because I really want some chocolate ice cream right now. But that is
I
really
didn't sorry I
cool.
didn't put that in your head, but okay.
Yeah. When you see that Big Mac commercial and now you just want a Big Mac. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that is so amazing to not only be able to provide the strategy, but providing the financing. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, when we talk about startups and people that want to start a business, and it doesn't have to be a big business, it can just be a small business. Why do you feel like there's a big challenge with people to start a business? For me, I can start, I have an idea and I can start the business like in 2 hours, right? But, a lot of people, that is what's keeping them from being a dualpreneur or being an entrepreneur is that they just don't want to do. What are some of the obstacles or challenges that a lot of people face with that?
Yeah, I would say the first challenge is, why do you want to be a dualpreneur? And you have to understand, look at your present situation, and you have to understand, I have a job for two reasons: to get seed and to get experience so I can get out of there, right? But I'm going to get all the seed money, salaries, and all the experience possible. So my attitude has to be really good. So even if you're working in a machine shop and you want to own a bed and breakfast one day, understand the strategy on the management strategy, the financial strategy, the logistics of that company. Learn as much as you can while you're there, knowing that God is going to promote you out of there. So when you do end up talking to someone like myself, an investment banker, an advisor, a consultant, you have some knowledge of a real business that you are a part of. And that's the way you have to look at yourself. You're not just an entrepreneur. I'm there to get seed and I'm there to get experience so I can talk to Robert Watkins, Wells Fargo, or whomever to get to the next level. But if your attitude is lazy and is terrible, then that's what you're going to carry over. But my attitude has to be, I can't wait to get up in the morning so I can get promoted. So, but I'm going to learn all that I can. I don't care if you're 50, 60 years old and you've been a janitor. Listen, one of my greatest clients used to be a janitor, and they fired him before he was able to retire. They fired him after 29 years, but he knew everything about floors. He knew about marble floors, hardwood floors, stone floors. He knew what chemicals to use. And guess what? He now has a $4 million floor cleaning business because of what he learned as a janitor,
Mm.
right? And he was there. I'm there to get seed and get experience. And now he has 20 people working for him. And that's the way to do life.
But I love that because it's what Alfred Edmond, my mentor from Black Enterprise, SVP of Black Enterprise,
Yeah,
he says, you know, it changed when he considered or he thought about Black Enterprise as his number one and largest client, right? When he started treating them like a client, because when you treat them like a client, you've got to do good by the client so the client wants to continue to pay you, right? So
right.
he saw his job not just as a job, but as his number one and biggest client. Because
Yeah,
if you can't serve and satisfy your biggest client, you're not going to be able to satisfy any clients.
right.
And so I love that you said, you know, we have our job for seed and experience. Absolutely. We need that seed money to start that website, to get that business coach, to do what we need to do, but we get the experience, and not just the experience of what you do, but other departments, because those other departments carry over into your business.
Hmm.
Just because you're an entrepreneur now doesn't mean the HR and the accounting department and the marketing department goes away.
Right.
I love that. I love that. So, what are some opportunities? You know, if people are thinking, should I start a side business? You know, should I even start a business? Why should people consider starting businesses?
Well, number one, it fuels our economy. Small businesses, without it, everything would collapse. Secondly, you can't make it in this new economy with one income, even if you are a business owner. Especially if you've got a child or two, one income is just not going to be enough. Even if you make six figures, it's still not enough. I ordered groceries through Instacart just the other day, and I've never really paid attention to how much I was paying on food, but I had 4 bags of groceries. It was $125. Okay, and so I didn't buy a new car. So the inflation that's among us that is not going away anytime soon. It is the great wealth decliner. It's the eroding our cash flow and our power. So $100,000 really is not $100,000 after taxes and inflation. It's really closer to $30,000 maybe. And so having that side hustle, as you would call it, is almost mandatory for everyone that is watching. And so you need to have those 7 streams of income tied to your life. So if one income is going down, it's okay. I got 6 others and we're going to be okay. But if you're depending upon one job, one income, life is going to be very difficult because the way markets are shifting, you know, we saw with the transportation industry, that was good. We saw I own commercial property. I had tenants. I had people, businesses inside of my office buildings. Guess what? During the pandemic, they stopped paying. Okay. So luckily, prayerfully, I had some other streams of income. So I didn't lose the building.
Mhm.
Right. So I had to have everything that I'm tied to has to have multiple streams of income. And that's what is mandatory in this new economy. And that's what we need to teach our children.
Absolutely. And a lot of people get very intimidated by 7 streams of income, thinking that you just need to have seven immediately. No, that is not the case. You have one stream of income, which is your job. Then you have your side business and you build that up. That's your second stream of income. Once that's going, now you can focus on the third. So you build up the streams of income. You don't necessarily have to have them all at one time because that intimidates a lot of my clients. And then I have to reel them back in. It's like, up, baby steps.
Well, this is new, especially with someone as innovative as you are, right? You can say, okay, what's my core? Well, I like to empower people, like what we're doing right now, right? Then what do I do after that? We write a book. You wrote a book. I wrote a book. That's a stream of income. Then what do? We coach people. We consult with people. That's another stream of income. Then what else is tied to my core? Well, real estate, right? Okay, well, I save my money. I go buy a piece of property. I get my credit up. It may take me 6 months to do it, but then I have a little. I know I have something else, and then but everything is tied to my life, tied to what I care about. I
Mm,
get money from referral fees, right? And then I get money from speaking engagements, and so thus that's five income streams right there, and I ain't even got out of bed yet. So
mhm.
it can be done, but if you're out there trying to start an Apple or a Coca-Cola or a Fortune 500 company, I'm not interested in that anymore, right? And so, but I'm interested in doing the things that I love so I can go be with the ones that I love, right?
Yes.
And that's where I would suggest we start.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, a lot of people have a big concern. This is the number one concern with a lot of startups or small businesses is funding, right? They feel like they need a whole lot of money or they may need, seed money to do that, but they're not ready to quite go to a financial institution or whatever. What are some options for people and at what point should they look for seed money and then could they go about it or where can they find seed money?
Well, first of all, I would say before we talk about loans and lines of credit, investment, things of that nature, the best money to invest is your own money.
Hmm.
Because eventually, whether you talk to a bank or an investor or somebody who's interested in you, they're going to ask, how much money have you put in?
Yes.
Right. That's why where you are working, you putting aside maybe $100 a month. And after 6 months, you've got, $600. After a year, you have $1,200. You put that into your website, right? So you can say, I have $1,200 in equity in this business. Okay, great. Then maybe I'll put in another $1,200. Now we're equal partners, but at least you have a story, you have some equity, right? So you say, okay, well, I'm going to do that. Then what's next? Well, the next thing is depend on your business model. Family, friends, or fools, as I always say. Who do you trust? Who can you trust to be a part? Now, working with family is difficult. I don't always recommend it. You know, I'm blessed to have a wife that we both love what we do. Okay, that's not always the case. So mama and them, papa and them, daddy and them, cousin, Ray, they don't always work out in business.
Everybody
Everybody
got
is
Ray Ray
living
in
late today.
if you're a black family, everybody got Ray Ray.
You got a Ray and a peanut, right? All right.
Wow.
They
Yes.
make they make you got a peanut too?
Yep. And a big man. I don't
And a
know if
big,
you have a big man.
well, they make good friends, but not maybe good business partners.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
so then what do you do after that? Well, you start a corporation, get an LLC, an S corp, and then maybe you come to someone like me. Once you have a plan, right? And there are lines of credit. The dirty little secret is banks are still flushed with cash that they are loaning. They're still loaning. Forget about the news. And so here's what I found out: most people don't need $1 million. Most people need about 30 to maybe $90,000 to do what they need to do. Hire you, hire me, find resources like that. And so for that, you need maybe about a 660, 670 credit score. And like what we do lines of credit and term loans, business loans. We don't do personal loans,
Mhm.
but you can take 5 years to pay it back. So it's like a car payment. Just be a good steward over the money and grow that 50,000 into 100,000, into 200,000, into 500,000, maybe over a 4 or 5 year period, right? So, but it has to fit into your business model. As long as you can prove you can pay the money back, that's all anybody ever cares about.
Mhm.
So those are the areas that I would suggest. So you have to work on you. So you got to bring something to the table. The good thing about us, there's no down payment. There's no 20% down. It's all unsecured. There's no collateral attached to it. You can take 5 years to pay it back. So if you take the $50,000 and let's say you start an ice cream shop, it doesn't quite work out. Nobody is going to come and take your house. It was a business loan. We have some risk. You had some risk. And sometimes business doesn't work out.
Mhm.
And that's okay. You just learned an expensive lesson and for the next thing to do. There's no successful person in business I've ever met that hasn't gone through some major business failure,
Yeah,
including myself.
that's a part of it's like riding a bike. Sometimes you're gonna fall off, but you get back on until you figure that thing out.
You'll figure it out.
Once you figure that thing out, you'll always be able to ride a bike. That's my whole thing is that you learn one time, and once you get going, even like I haven't ridden a bike in years, but I know once I get on that bike, I can still ride that bike.
Yeah,
Same thing,
absolutely.
same thing with business. You may fall off a couple times, but as soon as you get in your flow and you know what to do, even if you stop, you can always start another business.
Yeah,
You can always
absolutely.
absolutely. So, and I just want to bring up another thing is that say you're not ready for 30,000, whatever, you may need 2,000 and you may need 3,000. I mean, you can get a business credit card. I started off with a secured business credit card. And then they were like, yeah, you don't need to have secured. And then, American Express just was like, oh, here. But you have to start business credit, right? And you can start it small. So at least you have a credit report for your business, not personal, but for your business. And I'll put a link within the podcast of where you can go to look for those options. But definitely, Dr. Robert, how can people get in contact with you, learn more about your services and funding options to get their business started in 2023?
Yeah, thank you. So our website is conquerworldwide.com, CONQUER worldwide.com. You see all of our services there on Instagram, Robert J. Watkins, and LinkedIn, as well as Facebook is Dr. Robert J. Watkins. Love to connect, love to help, and love for people to call us. You mentioned you saw us on this podcast, and we love paying referral fees. No, we're not sending it to you, we'll send it to the Dual Entrepreneurial Podcast so she can do more of this type of stuff.
That's amazing. So you all make sure you call them and say, Dualpreneur sent you. How about
That's right.
that? Absolutely. Thank you for everything that you do in the universe. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Make sure you all go to conquerworldwide.com and definitely reach out for their services and their funding options so you can get started in 2023. I am Tara Jackson, aka Madam Money, your host of the Dualpreneur podcast. Thank you for listening and for watching.